August 5th, 7:21 p.m. According to the almanac, sunset in Gotham City comes at 7:21 post-meridium, and at exactly that moment, Enfer enters the command that sets his army of crawlers loose on the city. They line up and troop out the open bay door like a well-drilled militia, which is what they are. And he is their field marshal, safely installed at a remote location. He's broken them up into 30 teams of 3 each, with 5 held in reserve here at the command post. His initial instinct was to pair them off, but what with all the media hoopla surrounding his little message, he's opted for 30 sure things instead of 48 strong possibilities. Besides, once each team has achieved its initial objective, he can redirect them. Gotham City has lots of fire stations. Keeping an eye on 30 monitors at once, each divided into 3 subscreens, starts to make him feel kind of like he's a fly. 90 perspectives blend into a kaleidoscope of cityscapes. As an act of ocular self-preservation, Enfer whips up a little program to put the estimated time until destination up on each monitor, so he can pay attention to the ones that count. Phase 1 is going to be a lot of fun, just by virtue of the amount of stuff that will burn. But for the first time in years, Enfer is actually looking forward to something more than a fire. As soon as he spots Batman, Phase 2 is going to begin. And then, as Enfer's grandfather would have said, we'll see who's leather and who's lace.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though. Hunker down here, watch the crawlers do their thing, and venture out only when the potential reward of that venture demands it. The successful grand scheme demands a certain dexterity and risk analysis.
So, Phase 1. In order of their arrival at their targets, and as the fur begins to fly, it's all Enfer can do to keep up with the mayhem. If he were a cartoon character, his eyes would be dividing into 90 little rectangles. Team 1 hits the closest fire station to the command post. The first 2 crawlers, 1.1 and 1.2, go around the back down an alley and surprise a detail of Gotham City police standing guard. Enfer has programmed them to take immediate action against a number of patterns, including police cruisers, and they immediately roll cherry bombs in the direction of the police detail. Crawler 1.3, utilizing the diversion, has come around the other side and is climbing the back wall of the station. At about the same time that the cherry bombs go off under the front end of the first cruiser, 1.3 is breaking a window and raising hell in the fire station kitchen. Through its monitor, Enfer sees joysticks twirling in the kitchen and down the hall. Abruptly, the news becomes rather mixed. In the alley, 1.1 and 1.2 have done a bang-up job of scattering the police detail and are now heading into the station's ground floor. But through 1.3's monitor, Enfer sees 2 firefighters appear shoulder to shoulder in the kitchen door. They level shotguns.
Yow!
And 1.3's feed goes out. Downstairs, he sees 1.1 and 1.2 heading into the garage. Crawler 1.2 goes dark just as 1.1's monitor registers a blinding light, and the view is momentarily upside down. Then 1.2 rights itself, and responding to an emergency subroutine invoked by the loss of its other 2 team members, unloads its jellied gasoline payload and torches the garage in a consuming orange cloud. Score?
3 crawlers lost, 1 fire station well on its way to full combustion. Call it a draw.
The first half hour passes in repetitions of that scene, with slight variations. Enfer tinkers with his approach, with the result that after the first 5 or 6 assaults, he's getting at least 1 crawler extracted every time. Knowing that the firefighters are armed makes a difference. It puts a premium on timing, for one thing, and also necessitates some softening up from a distance before the crawlers invade each station. After his first dozen teams have executed their missions, he has 14 surviving crawlers, but all 12 stations are merely ablaze. An expanding ring of glorious destruction spreads across a graphical map of Gotham City on his main display.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
As each team completes its mission, he leaves the survivors to execute their automated responses and concentrates on the next wave of 7 teams, which is due to arrive over the next 2 or 3 minutes. He's creating an expanding ring of both fiery destruction and inability to respond to that destruction. Burning Gotham from the center out, and he'll stop when his 30 teams have reported back from their missions, and he can point out to the Gotham powers that be how precarious their position will be if he decides to reload and do another 30 missions. Can they stop him? No, they cannot. What does he want? He wants two things. He wants the Joker, and he wants Batman. If he doesn't get them, there won't be a cop or a firefighter left on the three islands. And then the people of Gotham City will find out what it's like to be at one another's mercy, and at his. Enfer first sees Batman when Team 13 is making its approach to the fireboat docked at Rogers Marina.
Figures you'd show up where the rich people's toys are, Mr. Civic Hero.
Enfer sneers into the feet of 13.2, which is taking evasive action by running along the deck of a sleek black 50-foot yacht with sails emblazoned with the initials KYK. Through 13.3's feed, Enfer gets a look at Batman up close and personal. Unfortunately, the view doesn't last because Batman does something so quickly that the feed can't keep up. And the next thing Enfer knows, 13.3's feed is white noise.
Ah, shit!
Crawler 13.2 is still flinging joysticks all over the marina, though, and Crawler 13.1 has made its approach to the fireboat by creeping along the underside of the pier. It springs across the gap and clings to the fireboat's hull. Gunfire erupts all around it as a police speedboat bristling with sharpshooters opens up. Crawler 13.1's feed herks and jerks as some of the bullets ping off its chassis and legs, but the crawler itself seems to be doing fine. It gains the deck of the fireboat and rolls 4 cherry bombs, one after another, down the stairs that lead below decks. It turns to make its escape, and suddenly the crawler can't move. It looks around, and the cause becomes apparent. Batman has pinned one of its legs to the deck with a pick end of a fire axe. He leans into the display.
Très bientôt.
Then he's doing a backflip over the fireboat's railing onto the pier as the cherry bombs go off, and 13.1's feed dissolves.
Très bientôt. I will not just kill Batman. I will disperse his ashes across the city's fire hydrants to be pissed on by dogs! I will stuff and mount his scorched costume and display it on the roof of his car! I will... No. Of course! That was the Joker!
Banter like that is much more in the Joker's character than in the hero's. And of course the Joker would play the Batman role tonight, the better to thwart Enfer momentarily, and the better to go on with his own mad plan to turn Batman into a symbol of violent caprice and unreliability, a symbol, in short, of the Joker himself.
The real Batman is elsewhere, doing something inscrutable, scheming invisibly until he can...
Excuse me, Mr. Cersei?
Enfer turns to see Batman. His heart lurches in surprise and confusion. How did he know about this place? And how did he get here so fast? Then Enfer realizes that the Death's Head grin is not Batman's, and the wisps of green hair curling from under the cowl aren't either.
Ah, my upstart firebug. The time has come to talk of many things.
Hours spent on parts of...
Details are sketchy, but arch-arsonist Enfer is apparently making good on his threat to spread havoc across Gotham City. Reports coming in from all over the city paint an apocalyptic picture of fire stations and other city facilities under siege from an army of mobile robots armed with bombs and incendiary devices. The swath of fire is spreading from the Rogers Marina to the Upper East Side, and the most recent eyewitness accounts claim that fire stations as far south as the financial district are under siege as well. Of Enfer himself, there has been no sign, but Batman sightings are pouring in, indicating that the Caped Crusader has joined the fight to save the city. Mayor Hill has mobilized the National Guard to assist in firefighting and disaster relief efforts, and unconfirmed reports indicate that Gotham City will soon be declared under martial law.
The firebug is out the door in a jiffy, and the Joker casually strolls to the Batcar and heads out after him. There's no hurry. The game will play out as the game will play out. Also, he stuck a little Joker detector on Enfer, in what was, even for him, a scandalously ingenious manner, simply by entering the house and planting a few on each doorknob. So easy. If the firebug wipes his hands, the little fake boogers will stick to his clothes, etc. But he won't. He's in too much of a hurry for that. He hasn't even taken his black fireman's hat. While the Joker looks at the Batcar's GPS to see where the firebug is going, he glances in the rearview mirror to make sure Bud and Lou are taking care of their end of the operation. It shouldn't be possible for them to screw it up, but they wouldn't be Bud and Lou if they didn't at least try to find a way. He recalls instructing them earlier as they were planning this escapade.
All I want you to do, boys, is go into the house after I'm gone, plug the servers into the big battery pack on the wheelbarrow, then wheel the whole shebang out to the van and take it back to the Maximus. Are we clear?
Sure are, boss.
Yup.
Repeat it back to me.
They did, and now as he sees them coming out of Enfer's little bungalow hideaway, the Joker has a flush of pride in his boys. To all appearances, they are actually transferring a useful and delicate piece of machinery without wrecking it.
What a great start. I'm so proud. Vaya con Dios, boys.
He wishes he had a hanky to wave out the window. The fact that they can't hear him makes the occasion all the more poignant. The Joker is brought nearly to tears by shame at how he almost employed this very Batcar as an instrument of double henchman-side. Then he's brought nearly to tears by the hilarity of remembering Lou trying to bounce his considerable self out of the Batcar's way.
But wait! There's a firebug to catch and exterminate!
Oh, I'm after you, you firebug menace.
He squeals away down the street, one eye on the road, and the other on the little red bug icon creeping across the GPS grid of Gotham City streets. The Joker tests the Batcar's cornering ability, in addition to the agility of local pedestrians. There aren't as many of them as there might be, since large parts of the city appear to be under siege by vaguely arachnid and pyromaniacally violent robots.
Where are you, firebug?
The firebug's icon has come to rest inside a building near the corner of Mulligan and Schuyler, not all that far from McGee's, in fact. Remembering that slaughtered icon of his youth renews the Joker's resolve. He furrows his brow, tightens grin into grimace, and brings the Batcar to a rocking halt at the point nearest the bug icon on the dashboard GPS. The storefront in front of which he has double parked is Safari Sports and Outdoors.
Ooh, I say, is there to be gunplay?
Well, this town ain't big enough for the both of us.
Assuming a gunfighter's body language, he approaches the store's glass front doors, trying to fling them open like spaghetti western saloon doors. He accidentally shatters both of them.
I don't know my own strength.
Then it's on into the vast retail savannah that is Safari Sports and Outdoors. Thousands of square feet of outrageously priced clothing and accessories, artfully arranged around dioramas of African wildlife. The clusters of fleeing and hiding customers add to the sense of being on the hunt.
Ooh, such an abundance of game. Such an abundance of consumer goods.
There's an athletic supplies wing with racks, bins, and piles of everything from lacrosse sticks to bocce balls. And in the back, the store at last becomes true to its name, with a full-service firearms counter and a shooting range in the basement. The Joker isn't a betting man, or in the strictest sense of the word, a man at all, but if he were, he'd put his hard-earned money on the firebug being down there. As he's heading toward the gun counter, it becomes vibrantly clear to the Joker that he'd have lost the bet. The firebug pops up from behind the handgun display case and lofts a pair of what look like paper towel rolls in the Joker's general direction. At about the midpoint of their journey, both of them blaze into flaming life at either end and spin fast enough that they start flying in wide loops through the store, igniting whatever they come close to. The store sprinklers kick in, and suddenly it's monsoon season in the Serengeti. Briefly nonplussed by this change in circumstances, the Joker isn't quite ready when the second spinning missile bangs squarely into the back of his head. Only Batman's superb craftsmanship spares him a quite uncomfortable burn, not to mention a probable concussion. He grabs the missile and flings it away toward the front of the store, where it gets stuck in a herd of zebras and slowly fizzles out in a haze of steam and burned fur.
Dear me, Firebug. We haven't had our chat, and already you're so hostile.
The firebug responds by leaping over the counter and charging toward the Joker. They go down together, and the Joker rakes the spines of his gloves across the Firebug's face. While the Firebug delivers a series of extremely damaging punches to the side of the Joker's head. For a moment, there are two Firebugs, and then the real Firebug is standing over him.
Okay. Hey, let's remember which side we're on here. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Well, sometimes. Sometimes they're all just enemies. Let's not make things any more complicated than they have to be. Simple joke, funny joke.
No wonder you didn't make it as a comedian.
How dare you!
The Joker reaches into one of the bat pouches and throws whatever it is he finds there, which, as it turns out, is a fistful of little bat-shaped and sharp-edged metal things. Most of them sail off into the wilds of the savannah, but one plants itself in the back of the Firebug's right hand.
Well, aren't you the strong, silent type?
I make my own kind of noise. Now, seriously, let's both work on the Batman problem tonight, and then settle what's between us.
Before you went to the media, I might have considered it. Now how can I trust you? And that's even if I were to forgive you for that atrocity you perpetrated on our city's novelty shops.
I was trying to get your attention.
What comes to the Joker's attention now is that despite the sprinklers, the fire burning on the retail floor of Safari Sports and Outdoors is getting fairly intense.
You being a professional in this field and all, how long do you think we have to get out of here?
Figure we should be moving toward an exit. Come on. You don't want to talk now. We'll talk outside.
Against his better judgment, the Joker takes the Firebug's hand, and it comes off in his.
Très bientôt, sucker.
The Firebug's dismembered hand is squeezing quite a bit harder than it seemed to be when it was still attached to his body.
Marvelous.
He considers elective amputation, then recovers his faculties and leaps to his feet. It's not as easy as it should be, with his balance thrown off by the prostheses attached in a friendly kind of way to his right hand. In the few seconds it takes him to get his balance back, the Firebug is gone out the back door.
What?
The Joker shakes his arm. The prosthesis won't come off. He shakes it harder. The prosthesis still won't come off. Sparks suddenly fly out of the shoulder joint, followed by a cloud of nauseating black smoke.
A dud.
The Joker picks the bat shuriken out of the back of the prosthesis' hand. Then, he can't help it.
A purely ornamental armament.
With that, he's off after the Firebug again, driving with his left hand and banging the shifter up and down with the wrist of the prosthesis. His fingers are numb, and if he were a regular guy, the Joker figures his metacarpals would be ground into meal fit for the giant at the top of the beanstalk. He passes a fire station, which is now a fire station in the same way that his lab is a crime lab, which is to say, it is a station in which fire happens. A number of police officers are blazing away at something unseen, but almost certainly a Veritech crawler. Overhead, a helicopter hovers. A bullet skips off the Batcar's roof.
Delightful!
It's worked. At least some of the local yokels in blue are shooting at Batman on sight. It's the helicopter shooting at him. Well, at Batman, but at some point, well, this point right here, when the bullets are bouncing off his roof instead of Batman's, the mistaken perspective becomes meaningless. The Joker lectures the prosthesis.
What of those semantic disputes? For example, are you an arm now that you're no longer being used for that purpose? Or are you now an arm-shaped collection of gears and latex?
What's the difference, the arm wants to know, between Batman and another individual dressed as Batman and driving Batman's car in such a manner as to suggest he is Batman?
I'll tell you what the difference is. I am me. No more, no less. Not who I used to be, but me. Batman, he's... I'll tell you what Batman is. He's a sufferer. Whoever he calls himself during the day, this is a man who's so in love with his own pain that he's created an entirely new identity just to indulge it. Yes, boys.
The server's up and running at Mormon Central.
The server is up and running back in Mormove Central. Fabulous. Yes, hello? How are you, Dr. Crane? Oh, you recognize me. How wonderful of you. Well, I have a simply irrepressible desire to make use of some of your therapeutic materials.
August 5th, 9:22 p.m. From the marina, Batman fights robots all the way across the East End, and then south toward the address of 1 F. Sosay. He feels not just as if he's on the horns of a dilemma, but that the dilemma is literally propelling him. Take out as many robots as he can, or sacrifice the lives and property the robots will destroy, while he makes a beeline for Enfer and cuts the head off this beast. When there are no robots in sight, he leans toward the second option. But as soon as he sees one, and the havoc and pain it spreads, he knows that option 1 is the only choice. The sun has been down for 2 hours, and in that time he has personally wrecked 21 of the crawlers. He's trying not to think of the irony that Wayne Enterprises had one of the research contracts to develop the crawler's pattern recognition software. In the middle of a pitched battle with 3 of them 20 minutes ago, he saw all 3 freeze just for a moment before launching back into their coordinated assault on one of the Bowery substations. That's when he knew they were slaved to a single user somewhere, and that makes it all the more important that he gets to that nerve center. The address in the Gotham City phone directory is burned into his forebrain. He's less than a half a mile away, running the wrong way up a one-way portion of Henry Boulevard, when something explodes in a building on the south side of Henry, and much of its facade slumps into the street. Instantly, Batman's out of the car and clambering over the wreckage. When he gets a look into the building, he sees that it's an ordinary office that shares a back wall with a fire station. Now both buildings are burning, the office not as aggressively because it just collapsed. And there's a running battle between Gotham City police, armed firefighters, and 2 crawlers. He can't see the third, and wonders if it was the source of the explosion that wrecked the office building. Suddenly, the air is full of the spinning missiles that Enfer threw at him during their first encounter. The 2 crawlers, bullets ricocheting off their legs, are throwing them up in the air as fast as they can retrieve them from chassis storage compartments. The missiles break windows and start burning inside several buildings on the block, and they've got the police detail pinned behind a GCPD cruiser just to the west of the fire station. One of the missiles sails in through a half-open cruiser window and begins to pinball around the inside of the car. Knowing what's going to happen, he starts fighting his way straight through the burning, shifting rubble from the collapsed office building to the other side of the block. Something burns his feet, and he leaps ahead. Then he's on the street. 4 shuriken flashing out of one hand to punch 2 of the spinning missiles out of the air. He wonders how long before the ammunition in the cruiser cooks off and takes the gas tank with it. He's across the street, spreading his arms. A bomb goes off somewhere behind him. The blast wave throwing him forward just as he jumps, clearing the cruiser, and at the apex of the jump, he pirouettes in the air, stiffens the cape, and settles like a shroud over the 3 cops pinned down on the other side. One of them starts to fight him, and Batman draws the cape tight, re-stiffens it, and hunkers down like a mother bat over her babies.
Whoa!
When the gas tank goes, the heat is already almost unbearable, and Batman smiles fleetingly as he imagines the collective media orgasm were he to be found dead sheltering 3 cops from the detonation of their cruiser. He has thoughts like that when his brain is cooking in the pan of his skull, and when the wave of heat has passed, he has the good grace to be embarrassed about them. Standing up, he releases the cape. The 3 cops, 2 uniforms and a ranking coat and tie, spill away from him. One of the uniforms immediately stands and levels his gun at Batman. He's wild-eyed, panicky, his hands shake.
Freeze!
Batman could take the gun before he thought to pull the trigger, but cops don't like it when you take other cops' guns.
I'm not going to freeze while Gotham burns. If you need to take a shot, take a shot.
The second uniform doesn't say a thing. Looking around, Batman sees that the crawlers have gone on to their next target, wherever that is.
Maybe you shouldn't shoot him right away, Tyler. It's a little soon after he saved our lives, don't you think?
Batman looks, and sure enough, it's Jim Gordon.
Tell your man to shoot someone else, Gordon.
Shoot someone else, Tyler.
Captain, there's a department order.
Tyler, if you shoot Batman right now, I will do one of two things. Either I will shoot you myself, or I will have Vasquez do it and get him promoted afterward.
Tyler's eyes pop out of his head.
You don't think that happens around here? Kid, I've been at this game a long time. You don't know what you're getting into. Aim the goddamn gun at the ground.
After a long moment, long enough, Batman thinks, but later he'll be able to convince himself that he could have done it and chose not to on his own terms, Tyler lowers his sidearm.
Captain, a word?
Gordon steps away from the uniforms.
Your message. I got a call saying the same thing at the crack of dawn this morning.
Batman remembers waking up with the thought in his head at about the same time when Gordon would have been getting his message.
From who?
You want me to handicap it? I'm going to say the Joker, but who knows how these people think. Hey, speaking of the Joker, I've got a little message for you.
He hands Batman an ace of spades. On the back, in a florid script, your presence requested at the Mormoops Maximus. Don't delay. And below that, an address.
Mormoops Maximus. Very funny. I'm going there as soon as I take care of Enfer. Keep up the fight here.
Keep the faith, right? You too.
Keep the faith indeed. Keep believing that the average Gothamite isn't like Officer Tyler, ready to shoot him as soon as a disembodied policy crosses his desk as a memo. There's no good reason to have that kind of faith in this city, yet he does. He's a block from the address where F. Sose has his phone bill sent, or did until the line was disconnected recently. He guides the car into the alley that bisects each block in this neighborhood lengthwise, flicks off the lights, switches from the gas engine to the electric, and ghosts up behind the house. It's dark, and the back door is open. Batman gets out of the car and walks through the open door. He smells something odd, a chemical smell, and after a moment of mental wheel spinning, puts it together with the scent Enfer gave off the first night they tangled. He walks into the living room, which is unfurnished save for a single chair, a folding table, and two large metal shelves creaking under the weight of, he counts, 30 computer monitors. On the folding table is another monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse, all cheap mail-order brands. He doesn't find a processor. Something is stuck to one of his gloves. He looks at it and almost flicks it away in disgust before he has a moment of investigative synergy, and everything in the house falls together into an obvious narrative. Holding the fake booger between thumb and forefinger, he heads back out to the car and opens up the code that runs the car's dashboard tracking terminal. It only takes a minute to splice in the dozen lines of code that allows it to search a spectrum of frequencies and see what other homing devices are operating in the immediate vicinity. And it only takes a minute after that to isolate the frequency of the transmitter in the fake snot. Then it's just a matter of pinging that frequency until he finds out where Enfer has gone and whether the Joker has gotten to him yet. Possibilities ramify on the other side of that event. If Enfer still has control of the server, and therefore the crawlers, then once Batman has run him down, the problem will be solved. If the Joker has gotten control of the server, locating it will be more of a trick. It might be at the so-called Mormoops Maximus, but where the Joker is concerned, it's rarely a good idea to trust logical deduction. First things first, track the homing beacon and find Enfer. But something about the knowledge that he and the Joker hit on the F-Sose solution so nearly simultaneously has him wondering if maybe the Joker is expecting exactly this. Nobody with any pride in himself would run around Gotham City with a prosthetic arm stuck to his real hand, Enfer tells himself. And the Joker, whatever else you might say about him, has some self-esteem. So Enfer thinks he's got a few minutes before the Joker shows up, and he plans to use that time wisely. Okay, he's lost the server, and therefore probably lost control over the crawlers in the field. But now that he's back in the old factory, he's got some goodies in reserve. And what kind of host would he be if he didn't prepare a welcome? First, he sets his 5 crawlers in a perimeter near each entrance to the building. Second, he puts on his long coat and loads it with goodies. Third, he sets up a dead drop switch, keyed to the buckle holding his arm into its harness, that will trigger the boomification of his spare arsenal in the back room. And fourth, but that's when the Joker makes his appearance, signaled by the sequential thumps of several cherry bombs going off just outside the door at the far end of the building. Enfer puts on his oxygen mask and tanks, gets his spare hat on over the getup, and buckles his coat. He's ready. He wasn't sure which arm to use, but now that the event is upon him, he's happy with the one he's got. The only thing he worries about is that he designed the nozzle for a less viscous liquid than the runny version of napalm he's currently tanked it up with. But if it works, even for a minute, the right minute, then hot diggity.
That's taking it all the way.
More cherry bombs from the back of the building, and something else. Enfer doesn't have time to wonder what's making the unfamiliar sound, although his initial guess is that he's just borne oral witness to the demise of yet another crawler. God, he spent a lot of money tonight. Never mind. By now it should be clear to the powers that be in Gotham City that they can't afford not to deal with him. And the deal is going to be a tough one.
And did you learn? You didn't do what I wanted, and what did it get you?
Still in his bat disguise, the Joker swaggers into view, his caped and cowled profile backlit by the glow of fire from the darkened rear portion of the building.
Well, there you are, my upstart firebug.
He holds up his right arm, and Enfer sees that the prosthesis still dangles from the Joker's right hand. It's somewhat the worse for wear, though. The latex hangs in strips, and clusters of wiring and sprung springs gleam in the firelight, as well as the harsher glare from the trouble lights hanging around Enfer's workstations. The titanium humerus appears to have snapped off entirely.
I trust you with my body, and this is how you treat it?
My deepest, most rueful apologies. But those crawlers are robust indeed. I had to keep hitting it. Then.
The light in the Joker's eyes seems brighter than the fire slowly spreading from the back door.
I do hope to conclude our business with a touch more finesse. More, what's the word? Éclat?
Where are the rest of the crawlers? Enfer starts moving laterally away from the Joker, who keeps the distance between them constant.
Come now, little firebug. Have you no pyro pranks for me? No incendiary interventions? I perish, I say, in anticipation of your next innovation.
With a flourish, the Joker produces a handful of shining steel, little bat shapes, spread like cards in his hand. He snaps them one after another at Enfer. And before Enfer can move, 3 of them have bitten through the coat and sunk into the flesh of his upraised left arm. The 4th embeds itself in the prosthesis. The Joker stalks more aggressively now, and Enfer circles him, shutting the Joker's taunts out of his mind.
I do so appreciate the gesture, you know. Arkham's an abominable place. Your adoration was touching. The truth is, though, and I told the boys this 1,000 times, the truth is that the ecological niche, if you will, of the criminal mastermind, the archvillain, is a small one indeed. Small enough that only I can occupy it.
Another salvo of steel bats whickers toward Enfer, biting into his legs.
The boys have taken this lesson to heart. There's nothing wrong with ambition, but like anything else, misdirected ambition becomes a liability, don't you think? I do.
Now, Enfer flips a switch attached to his belt, and the 5 prostheses he hasn't used start to spew gas vapors into the air. Now there isn't long. With an open fire at the back of the building, boomification of the premises is a foregone conclusion. The only question is whether the timing will be right.
Phew! Oh dear me, Firebug. Must we pollute this, our final conversation, with foul odors? Is it not odor skunk I smell? The common tincture added to municipal gas supplies so Auntie Mormoops doesn't incinerate herself when she forgets to turn off the oven after the cookies are done? Why, I think it is. From which I can only infer, Enfer, that you mean to do me harm by the ignition of said gas. Oh, has it come to this? Do you not know that this marvelous bat get-up encasing my precious flesh is superhumanly fire-resistant? Perhaps in that regard superior even to your delightful fireman's regalia?
Behind the visor and inside the oxygen mask, Enfer can smell himself. He's keyed up enough that if he snapped his fingers right now, the building would come down around them. There's a way to fix the timing issue that has worried him. The only question is whether the building will withstand the explosion. He never did have a chance to do a thorough investigation of its structure. Concrete, I-beams, he presumes. Pretty strong. He wouldn't be surprised if parts of the upstairs come downstairs, though. And it would be best if he's not here when it happens. His mind is wandering. And as if he's snapping out of a dream, Enfer realizes that the Joker must have doctored the little steel bats. He'd be dead right now if he were a regular man. Probably his alterations are causing some pretty interesting chemistry with the Joker juice. That interesting chemistry is making him feel stoned is the truth of the situation. Also, his feet are numb, and the stump of his arm is itching fit to drive him nuts.
Ma main coupée brûle au-delà dans la constellation d'Orion.
Enfer wishes he could see Orion from in here.
Whoa, what was that?
The Joker's right there, right over him, which means that at some point, Enfer hit the floor. He doesn't remember doing it. He raises his right arm and squeezes the fist. This is supposed to cause a jet of slightly thinned napalm to coat the Joker's head and torso, but what happens is that a stream of slightly thinned napalm courses down the arm to pool inside the sleeve of his coat. Grinning, the Joker plucks a steel bat out of the arm.
Zoink!
Gasoline gel drips from one of its wingtips.
There seems to have been a fair pressurization, Herr Firebug.
Enfer's head is buzzing. He takes off his oxygen mask and the helmet with it. The smells of gas and smoke sting his nose, along with the acrid chemical tang of himself.
Venez fermer de bord.
The Joker's grin gets slightly quizzical, and he leans closer to hear.
Je suis acté jusqu'au bout, et j'ai peur.
Oh, don't be afraid, little Firebug. You haven't done all that badly. The bit with the firemen at the beginning showed promise, and the Arkham hijinks was, I must admit, inspired. Ha ha, indeed. But misdirected ambition. Oh well. I will enjoy using those little robots, though. Thank you for making me aware of them.
Enfer feels as if he is already vaporizing. With the prosthesis, he reaches slowly across his body and takes off his left glove.
Beg pardon?
The bat mask leans even closer.
Now, I'm not afraid anymore.
And the only flame in the universe is a poor thought. And Enfer snaps his fingers.
Well, that is an experience I hope never to repeat.
The Joker staggers out of the smoking ruin of the Firebug's incinerated headquarters. The first boom was bad enough, what with all the gelid and or vaporous hydrocarbons, but the second, not funny at all. Not a bit. What on earth did the Firebug have stored up back there in the rear of the building?
People shouldn't be trusted with that sort of ordnance.
He brushes soot and flaming skeins of napalm from the batsuit. At the same time, he's thanking his lucky stars for the superhuman reflexes, and let's not forget the inspired speed of thought that allowed him, in the fraction of a second between the birth of the flame between the Firebug's thumb and forefinger and the annihilation of the ground floor of the building, to duck under the Batcape and trigger the hardening response that transformed it into a personal bomb shelter. Even with that protection, he's a little deaf and feeling more than a little singed. However, he does always enjoy the sight of a little carnage, especially if he had a hand in its creation, so he allows himself a few minutes to stand, arms akimbo and Batcape blowing in the fire-accelerated breeze, on the street in front of the collapsing remains of the Firebug's nest.
Gotham City, my love. Who could live anywhere else? Not much traffic. There is no lack, however, of columns of smoke, or sirens, or helicopters, or incoming! Trigger-happy police officers.
He blows smoke out the Batmobile's rear just to give the boys in blue something to think about, then reverses direction and accelerates back through the smoke. Just as he's coming out of the cloud, the Joker experiences an odd moment of cognitive dissonance. Why, isn't that car in front of him a Bat car? How can that be, when he is driving the onlyest Bat car in all of Gotham City? Or perhaps he is thinking that thought after he T-bones the other Bat car at a speed that can only be considered excessive, and only thinks he had the thought before the collision because of the way that blunt trauma to the head scrambles his sense of time. Either way, he's still curious about the phenomenon when he opens the Batcar's door and leaps out onto the street. His foot catches on the harness, and he lands flat on his face, the Batcape settling over him like a parachute.
How humiliating. Ta-da! Thank you. I'm here all week.
Standing up out of the bow, the Joker notes that in fact there is another Batcar, which can mean only one of two things. Either there is a copycat out there who is enamored of the idea of being an imposter Batman, or Batman himself has managed to acquire a new car. Of the two, the Joker, even in his state of temporarily diminished mental capacity, finds the second to be more likely. Still, he feels it necessary to confirm his intuition. He walks up to the other Batcar, the driver's side of which is quite spectacularly stove in.
Well, shut my mouth if it ain't that old Batman.
The Chiropteran Crusader glares at him with a look the Joker recognizes, having directed it at so many people himself. It's a look that promises murder.
I do hope this little incident, fatal as it was to our dear little Firebug, won't prevent you from attending the grand opening of the Monstrous Maximus. I'd assist you in exiting your vehicle, were it not for my concern that you might presume upon my altruism by provoking some sort of fisticuffs. So here's what let's do. I'll toddle off to await you at the address I'm sure Captain Gordon has provided you, and you come along whenever you're ready. Sound fine? Fine. Ta-ta!
The entirety of this little soliloquy is made possible by the fact that Batman's Batcar, having received the force of the Joker's Batcar, is rearranged and wrinkled in such a way as to prevent Batman's immediate egress.
Oh, what a lucky ducky I am, oh yeah!
The Joker executes an imaginary tip of the somewhat battered Batcowl and exits in the manner of a classic vaudevillian, soft-chewing it back to his Batcar. Once he's around the corner and out of sight, the Joker starts planning.
Batman won't be long, no siree, and there are things to do. One cannot entertain, not really, unless all of the doilies are dusted and one is changed out of these charred bat things and into proper garb for hosting important guests. Plus, there's the little matter of those crawlers, which are in dire need of a meticulously Jokerific reprogramming. To Mormont Central, away! Boys, our hero approacheth, and the Firebug will send no more spider bots to trouble us. A red-letter day indeed.
Bud and Lou are sipping from brown paper bags. The Joker stops.
Now really.
Sorry, boss.
Yeah.
I go forth to change. Pinstripes or the solid purple?
Pinstripes!
Thank you, boys. I'll be back in a jiffy.
Exactly one jiffy later, he's back, and sitting in front of the fine array of monitors the boys have liberated from a dockside warehouse. They've also been kind enough, or lucky enough in the way that simpletons are often lucky, to wire up the server in such a way that it actually performs its function of command and control over the 40 or so surviving crawlers.
Exemplary work, boys.
And the Joker is surprised to find that he means it. Either Bud or Lou apparently has a touch with computers. He doesn't want to ask which of them, because the question would clue them into the fact that he thinks they've done something right. And once they know that, anarchy and rebellion are bound to ensue. Being no slouch at the keyboard himself, the Joker wastes no time revising the primary instructional matrix governing each crawler.
No longer, my pretties, will you randomly assault and destroy GCPD black and whites? Such a waste of your potential. Why don't y'all come back to Mormont Central, rest up a minute, and recharge those wonderful cargo spaces? Then, once you're full up with Joker juice, you may venture once more into the Gotham environs and show the ghost of our dear departed Firebug how this arch-villain game is truly played.
Oh, great speech, boss.
In any conflict Bruce Wayne has read, there are a certain number of intrusions of simple randomness. Often these are decisive. Batman does not want to hear this. The collision of the two cars and the intersection of the real Batman and his deranged imposter do not interest him as expressions of military history or chaos theory. Batman's entire being is subsumed within the imperative to get out of the car, track the Joker to this Mormoops Maximus, and end things. The car, designed to remain functional after impacts with everything up to and including concrete walls, could possibly still drive, although the left front tire would scrape itself to pieces on the collapsed portion of the fender, and the steering would be about as sensitive as a sedated mule. Fighting his way out of the harness, Batman has no intention of finding out whether he could drive to the Mormoops Maximus and how long it would take. His body and his anger will get him there much more quickly. Free of the harness, he rolls across to the passenger door and opens it. It comes up short against a mailbox on the curb.
Damn it!
In a burst of fury, he swings his legs around and slams both feet into the door panel. The rusty bolts holding the mailbox to its concrete base snap, and the box skids off the base and topples onto the sidewalk. Batman pauses just long enough to refresh his equipment from the glove compartment and console of the car. Then he's like smoke, blending into the shadows of firelit Gotham City, seen only when he wants to be, invisible, even to the daylight version of himself. The address, in a decrepit and largely deserted industrial area of the East End, announces itself by a flashing orange neon sign, MM, 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 against the background outline of a bat. It's the only light on the block. The Joker must be feeling bold. Batman wonders what his plans are for the crawlers, two of which are just now skittering around the back of the building. Mormoops Maximus.
The great ghost-faced bat.
That's one interpretation. The other, more in keeping with the Joker's style, is a killing floor with a bat theme. It's not worth thinking about. What remains is a last obstacle. The details of that obstacle will not be important until he encounters them, and they will not be knowable until then. Another crawler appears briefly on the street before following the previous two around the corner. Batman considers going after it and gaining access to the building that way. That approach brings an excess of variables. The crawlers might already be reprogrammed to attack him, or they might be headed down into a holding area with no direct access to the Joker, or... Admit it, he prods himself. He wants to go in, the way the Joker wants him to. He's accepted the terms of the game because it's a game he enjoys playing, and he enjoys playing the game because he has long since lost both his fear of death and his belief that anyone in Gotham City can outsmart him. But at the same time, he knows that if that person exists, it's the Joker, and Batman just has to know what challenge he's laid for him this time. It's true. No point in denying it.
Maybe we are different.
He's across the street and in the front door before a fourth crawler, just pushing a manhole cover out of its way as it comes up from below the street, can register his presence. He's sealed in a small, dimly lit anteroom.
Welcome, Caped Crusader. Price of admission to Mormoops Maximus is 1 utility belt, including any night vision apparatus. No cheating allowed, and no going back the way you came.
A drawer slides out from the wall. Reluctantly, Batman takes off his belt, making a note to later add night vision lenses to the other lenses built in with his cowl to replace the collapsible externals in his belt. He places it in the drawer. The drawer retracts, the light goes out, and the wall in front of him slides open. Inside, the darkness is so complete that even his hyperacute eyes can barely discern any patterns. He waits, still and silent, until his vision is as normal as it's going to get. Outlines of a broad open floor supported by naked eye beams slowly emerge from the even black. An abandoned factory floor, but he knew that when he walked in. Across the room, the right angles and straight lines crumple into less distinct shapes. A dim light, smoky orange in color, appears on the far wall. Above it, letter by letter, a message spells itself out. This way to the Maximus. He goes toward this darkly carnivalesque invitation, bearing first almost all the way to the left-hand wall, conscious at every step of the smoothness of the floor under his boot soles and of the possibility, the certainty really, that the Joker is observing him. No visible spectrum camera that he knows of would return a useful image of him in the minimal ambient light, but his face and breath will be beacons in infrared, and a standard night vision lens will pick him out as a silhouette. He'd be a fool to assume he's invisible, but there's no sense making himself obvious either. Even though it's the Joker's show, the best way to throw a wrench in the works is to look like he's doing exactly what the Joker expects, while he's actually scoping out ways to make those expectations work against the Joker. Tactical judo. Now that he's closer to the door, he sees that the room has been remade to look like a cave. I-beams have become flowstone columns, and in the ochre glow from the sign, he can see old light fixtures redone to look like stalactites. So what he's looking at here is a joke on the partially transformed cave below Wayne Manor. Batman's mind runs through possibilities of what might await on the other side. Water, invisible holes, rockfalls, spiders, crickets, fish, bats. He takes a breath, holds it in until he can feel the tap of his pulse in his throat. The act is centering and preparatory. His body, trunk and limbs, muscle and bone and brain, stands ready. What he needs to know, more than specifics of what awaits him on the other side of the orange-lit door, is the location of the Joker's control room. A setup like this one requires fairly rigorous surveillance and real-time control. And that's not even taking into account whatever the Joker's got cooked up for the crawlers. That last thought, and memories of what nearly happened to the reservoir last year, spurs him forward. If the Joker's previous behavior is any indication, he'll be timing Batman's progress through the Maximus and hoping to synchronize it in such a way that at the very moment Batman gets through the Maximus, he'll realize that it's just a moment too late. That was the point of the Alfred joke. This is the same thing, only with more than Alfred's life at stake. He walks through the door.
As you can see, I was so inspired by my unexpected visit to your sanctum sanctorum that, in addition to paying my own little homage to your presence in our fair city, I had to recreate your subterranean hideaway. Only with a few little twists, whose artistic merit I'm sure you'll be able to appreciate.
This must be a cue, since as the words die away, Batman can hear the sounds of moving water, an effect not present before.
Is this a guided tour?
Consider me your Virgil.
Right.
Batman moves forward. Under his feet, the feel of rough stone. In his ears, besides the sounds of water, a quiet rumble that puts him in mind of the furnace in the oldest part of Wayne Manor. In his eyes, the dimmest reds and oranges. In his nose, traces of petroleum and another earthier smell he can't identify. Ahead of him, a fork in the trail, between piles of boulders and thick forests of stalagmites.
But bear in mind, you don't have the leisure of Dante. I have plans for those crawlers, and those plans are underway. I'd hate to have you miss their grand send-off. It's going to be quite a juicy spectacle.
Juicy, right. Put together a couple of dozen crawlers, or however many are still operational, and a quantity of Joker juice, and what you have is disaster. Batman tries to fish a little.
Juicy in here too, I'll bet.
Oh, I'll keep you interested. Now, you have a decision to make. Right or left?
Batman goes left.
Marvelous!
Ahead, Batman sees the trail slope downward beneath a lowered ceiling. He's just shifting his weight to take the next step when he feels something shift in the floor. A spring. His weight is already committed forward, and he flexes down, then out, diving forward into the descending tunnel. He passes into blackness, and the quality of the sound in the cave changes. Behind him, the roar and glow of fire throws his shadow against the opposite wall of the room he's leapt into. It's much farther away than he'd anticipated. A broad chamber, rather than the narrowing passage he'd expected. Just as he understands this, he also senses that there is space below him. Tucking into a somersault, he catches the corners of the cape and partially stiffens it, relying on the strength of the fabric to absorb the landing he believes is coming. The impact knocks the breath from him, and then he registers that his body has made a splash rather than a thud. The water closes over his head, and he lets go of the cape, kicking back to the surface. The suit and cape absorb no water, and are reasonably light, so swimming is no problem. The water is moving, though, and that is a problem. Where is it going?
Oh, Batman! The crawlers are almost ready. I'd hate to have you miss their grand debut because you were floating out to sea.
The current picks up, and Batman floats on his back, spreading his limbs. His sense of smell has caught up with the other four, and he detects small amounts of oil in the water. His hands and feet slap small bits of debris. A wastewater cistern, he thinks. It must drain into a pipe, and probably at some point there's a screen for large debris. If he gets pinned against that, he won't be around to see the crawlers. His left foot jars into a wall, then skids into a stronger current. Batman sends the maximum charge through the cape's fibers, stiffening it into a sail, or in this case, a rudder. It sweeps into the current, pulling his upper body with it, and then jams in the mouth of the drain pipe. Good thing the electrically stimulated fibers are insulated by the exterior layer of the cape. But it's a mixed blessing, because as his body is caught in the rush of water, Batman is strangling on his own weight. Far too much time has passed since he drew a full breath. He reaches up over his head and catches one hardened edge of the cape in both hands. Then, turning himself on his side, he flattens himself against the inside of the pipe and slowly belly crawls back toward its mouth. The pressure on his neck lessens, and his head breaks the surface. Quiet, he thinks. Let the Joker think he's gone for now.
Yoo-hoo! Oh, Batman!
Batman gets first one hand, then the other, on the protruding lip of the drainpipe's mouth. He reaches up and finds that the wall is made of large granite bricks, slippery but imperfectly cut, so that they offer more than enough finger and toe holds. Hand over hand, he pulls himself out of the water until he can get one foot out of the current. Then he relaxes the cape and takes 20 seconds just to breathe.
Yoo-hoo! Now do respond, Crusader. This won't be nearly as much fun without a bat witness.
Batman climbs the wall, brick by brick and seam by seam. When he is 8 feet or so above the surface of the water, he looks around. Whatever trap he sprang in the outer room is still burning brightly, and in the light from that fire, he can see an opening in the wall above him. 90 seconds later, he is hoisting himself through it. He's in a tunnel, less than 30 inches high and slightly wider. Its floor is dry, and it rises gently away from the stormwater cistern. He bear walks for maybe 50 feet, pausing every few steps to listen.
Yoo-hoo!
He starts to wonder if the Joker's voice is recorded, but before he can waste too much energy wondering, he sees light ahead and turns his entire focus to the end of the tunnel. Almost there, he stills himself to listen. Light flares and dies above him. Covering the last few feet to the end of the tunnel, he encounters a heavy grate bolted across its mouth. He tests it and feels it give a little. Well, he was always going to be noisy at some point. Lying on his back, he spreads his feet to brace them against the tunnel walls. Then he works his fingers into the grate and pushes. Slowly and steadily increasing the force until he feels the ghost of movement in one corner of the grate. Shifting one hand so his center of pressure is closer to that movement, he breathes in, holds, and with the exhalation, snaps the grate loose. He slides it out of the way and lifts himself out into a room that makes him understand the Joker's bon mot about the Inferno. Flames belch from the walls and ceiling, and chaotic showers of what look like molten rock spray up from the floor. Batman stays where he is, waiting for the pattern to become apparent. He lets his eyes unfocus, mapping each of the separate cycles onto a collective timeline, and waiting for the common denominator to reveal itself. Bit by bit, it does. There is a path to what he doesn't know. With some agility and timing, he should be able to traverse it. The problem is that if the path is just an artifact of the way the Joker put the puzzle together, he won't be any better off at the end of it than he is now.
Oh, Batman! I heard something in there. Where are you, my most worthy adversary? You're a little off track, I think. Understandable, of course. Tell me where you are and I'll extend an invitation. In all honesty, I'm crossing my heart this very moment. I'd hate to have you fail before you can join me in watching the crawler-tot ball I have planned for... Oh my goodness! Look at the time! 10 minutes from now! Oh, do hurry! I'm waiting!
He's sweating inside the suit and wreathed in steam coming from the cape. Ignoring the Joker, Batman watches for the entry point to come around again.
There. It is.
He steps, rolls, freezes as he comes up out of the roll, and a tongue of fire shoots across the path. He runs a dozen steps, squats, and ducks under the cape, as little flecks of molten rock spatter from the closest lava shower. Timing his movements carefully, he navigates through the maze of fire and lava.
2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Finally, he reaches the wall, and a small oasis where he can stay still and catch his breath again. As much as he hates to do it, he slips the lenses in place behind the cowl's eye openings. The heat in the room is drying his eyeballs in their sockets. Breathing, too, is a problem. His throat is seared and his nose burning. When he's blinked some tears back into his eyes, he can see across the room again, and he understands 2 things. 1, he has come into the room via a route the Joker did not anticipate, and 2, he is less than 20 feet from what must have been the way the Joker wanted him to emerge from the room. Here's where he can spring a little surprise. Putting his head down and wrapping the cape around his upper body, Batman charges straight through a belching cloud of fire and under the lintel of the finished doorway, marking the exit. He catches part of the inscription over the door just before he passes beneath it. "Ye who enter here." A little late for that, he thinks. Anybody who makes it this far either never had any hope or is incapable of losing it. He's not sure which category Bruce Wayne would belong to, or really how you would tell one from the other. In close proximity to a fiery death, hope and desperation look much the same. It's quiet. That's the first thing he notices. No gouts of flame, no hungry swirls of water.
Virgil symbolizes the intellect. Thanks for the tip.
Oh, good gracious! There you are! 6 minutes, you know. Can't hold the curtain, even for such a VIP as yourself.
From somewhere in the room comes the smell of something astringent.
Here's a little something to spur you on, courtesy of ARKHAM Asylum.
Then, the room explodes in bat wings, precisely at the moment when Batman's brain spasms with cold, unreasoning animal fear. From the rustle and whir of bat wings, patterns resolve themselves.
Bruce.
His father's voice. It's dark, but as if he's viewing a stereoscope, Bruce can see the silhouette of his father, resolving itself from the churning background of bats.
This is not what I raised you for, Bruce.
I honor you, Dad. And Mom.
No, you don't. You honor your pain. Your life since the night we died has been one long effort to dissociate from and displace your guilt, masquerading as a crusade against crime. That's the only superhuman thing about you. I don't know how to put it any more clearly.
Somewhere, part of Bruce's brain knows that it's the Joker doing this, but it's the part of the brain that talks ineffectually when you're in the middle of a nightmare and only succeeds in adding more torque to the horror of the experience, because there's no way to know if it's true.
You can't be 8 years old forever, Bruce.
His mother's voice this time.
You can spread all the fear you want, but you can't make yourself less fearful by spreading that fear to others. As long as you're creating more outside, there's always more inside you to replace it.
It's for good, Mother. I bit down on my fear. I held it. I subdued it. And now I make it work for me. Fear is my engine.
Batman sinks to his knees, every muscle quivering with the effort of keeping his mind in one piece.
Bruce, what else needs to happen for you to understand this? If you hadn't put on that damn outfit to begin with, what would the Joker have had to steal? How many people would still be alive if every criminal misfit in Gotham City didn't suddenly have a measuring stick that he wanted to test himself against?
They don't need a reason, Father. They are how they are.
You mean we, don't you?
No. Yes. We are how we are.
Fire all around him, and he isn't going to be able to hold it together much longer.
It's the Joker doing this. And if you let him, you're going to die here. The crawlers are going to host Jokerjis all over Gotham City. Because you're still grieving Mama and Daddy. You're still grieving the decisive intrusion of randomness into your life.
A snap in his mind. Maybe something breaking. Maybe something falling together, like the last piece of a model. A perfect fit. He catches a waft of clean, air-conditioned air across his face. Randomness intervenes. Some of the fear evaporates.
There!
And he knows where this current of air has come from, knows how it was torn and twisted by the beat of 1,000,000 bat wings and the mushrooming convection of 1,000 fires. Or maybe it's intuition. Either way, when he lunges to his right, both fists together, he crunches through a double sheet of drywall, and the room is flooded with light. The Joker sits, old-fashioned microphone in one hand, and an unlit cigarette in a long holder, dangling from 2 fingers of the other.
Oh, dear me. Decided to cut the Gordian knot, have we?
The fear drives him, like the pain that sinks a trapped coyote's teeth into its own leg. Batman flexes his shoulders and snaps the wall studs on either side of him, jerking pieces of them loose with either hand as he steps through the opening.
Welcome to Mormont Central, Batman. It appears I no longer need this.
I don't think they let you smoke in prison anymore either.
The city's concern for my health is indeed touching.
The Joker starts to reach for something, maybe a squirting carnation, maybe exploding fake dog shit, who knows? And Batman is across the gap between them before the Joker's arm has moved 6 inches. He snaps a punch into the Joker's overbroad mouth, just by way of introduction, and before the teeth have finished falling out, he has the Joker spun around to the floor, an elbow in his neck, and one of the broken wall studs raised over his head.
That's another one of those things that's only funny when it happens to someone else.
The Joker's eyes are wide, and the blood running into his mouth takes some of the insouciance out of his grin.
Fear. And that's what you're after, isn't it, you humorless, stone-faced ghoul? You just want to scare people. Well, fine, I'm scared. But the joke, my foe chiropter and adversary, is still gonna be on you.
Batman looks up and sees that he's holding the piece of 2x4 with the pointed end down, as if he's about to stake a vampire. Bruce Wayne once read a work of philosophy in which it was written that when you look into the abyss looks back. This is one of those moments. Batman raises the stake, and with all his strength, throws it like a spear over the Joker's head, where it buries itself squarely in the center of the server, obtained from the recently departed F-So-Say. The array of monitors goes a flat blue. Looking around Mormont Central, Batman counts 13 crawlers in his field of vision. All of them are still.
You probably would have disguised yourself as me when you did your grand proclamation about the crawlers, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes. I would have.
Batman will not kill, but he puts everything he has into each punch. With each of them, he feels a little of the fear drain away. He stands over the unconscious Joker, feeling the vibrations of those punches die away, up and down the bones of his arm. He turns to see 2 ordinary working stiffs coming in the door from a side room. Behind them, he can see a laboratory setup and various vessels filled with fluids and gases and the Joker's favored shade of green. Henchmen. Probably the ones who killed the Shanleys.
You didn't have to do that.
Batman picks up the unconscious Joker and slings him over his shoulder.
I didn't have to let him live, either.
Okay, I was wrong. Yeah, you heard me. Savor it.
It'll be a while before you hear it again. But I have no regrets, because being wrong about Batman means that I have a profound sense of all is right with the worldness. The Caped Crusader is in his hideout, and I am at my keyboard. The Joker is on his way to wherever we're going to warehouse the creme de la deranged, and things are as they should be. Who knew the Joker would have been able to pull off a Batman in disguise joke for so long? Makes you wonder if deep down we all wanted to believe the Batman dream, this vision of a nocturnal Lone Ranger, was going to go sour on us eventually. We sure didn't waste any time buying what the Joker had to sell. Now, I'm no psychoanalyst, but that explanation feels true to me. As Gothamites, we're incapable of believing the best about people. Confronted with pure examples of human selflessness and devotion, we shuffle around like we've got rocks in our shoes. Maybe Jonathan Crane could tell us why, if he's in the mood to tell us anything, which is rarely the case. For now, it appears that Batman was the victim of a cruel joke played by the greatest of jokers, which is to say, the Joker, and that the rest of us were equally victims. Especially Merrily St. Pierre, the other unfortunate pedestrians, and the Shanley family. So it looks like I need a new rant. Got it. There's this guy. He's been widely quoted in the papers and TV and radio because he's been at the center of a controversy lately. It appears he didn't handle the dissemination of information with great skill or concern for the public well-being. It also appears that he might have deliberately misled the public about the method of the Joker's escape, thereby causing numerous fatalities among the citizens of our fair metropolis. But what the hell? That's Gotham City officialdom, right? Right. Sure. I had a thought, though. If Batman can teach us any lesson, maybe it's this one. We don't have to stand for this kind of crap. Can anyone, and I mean anyone, tell me why the hell Jonathan Crane still has a job?
Once upon a time, there was a crocodile that could fly.
James Jr. wriggles deeper into his bed. Just a month ago, Gordon and Barbara moved him from a crib. It was one of those bittersweet occasions. Gordon is proud of his boy for making the transition, and sad that Jr. will no longer be in the crib with the dinosaur mobile turning over his head. In the past few months, Gordon has managed to tease part of the Enfer story out of sources from the East End all the way across to North Africa, but there's still too much he doesn't know. He's got his suspicions about Jonathan Crane, who after the initial uproar seems to have survived with his position intact, and who also looks to be getting a fat line item in the state supplemental budget to rebuild Arkham Asylum right where it's always been. Thinking about the political horse trading that went into that makes Gordon tired. Until Arkham is rebuilt, its inmates, including the Joker, are going to be housed in a mothballed state prison 100 miles or so from Gotham City. Gordon will sleep easier knowing that, but he knows that as soon as the new Arkham is built, all of the psychopaths and deranged lunatics will be right there at Trigate again. Even if they don't escape as often, he can't help but feel that their presence has an effect on the city. 2 weeks after the Inferno, Wayne Enterprises announced a multi-million-dollar grant program to assist in the reconstruction and improvement of firefighting and police facilities in Gotham City. Cynical meatheads like Dwayne Trask grumbled about Bruce Wayne throwing his money around so he could interfere with Gotham City politics, but Gordon is of the opinion that Gotham City politics need a little interference. A billionaire do-gooder would be a welcome change of pace from your run-of-the-mill graft and corruption. On Election Day, the Ridley guy took out Angelo Fittipaldi, and other incumbents had closer races than they'd experienced in years. Maybe a new breeze was blowing. Gordon's too cynical himself to actually believe that, but he's not too cynical to want to. Junior's asleep. Gordon sits next to his son's bed, tired but steeping himself in the pleasure of being just a dad for a little while, until tomorrow morning when he has to get up and be a cop again. He looks out Junior's bedroom window. Batman is out there somewhere.
It's good to be able to believe in him again.
This has been a graphic audio production of DC Comics' Batman Inferno. Copyright 2009 by DC Comics. All rights reserved. Batman and all related names, characters, and elements are trademarks of DC Comics. Copyright 2009 DC Comics. Batman created by Bob Kane. Production copyright 2009 The Cutting Corporation. All rights reserved. Novel written by Alex Irvine. With performances by Richard Rowan as Batman and the Joker, James Konachek as Jim Gordon, Stephen Carpenter as Enfer, Terrence Aselford as Alfred Pennyworth, Colleen Delaney as Vicky Vale, David Coyne as Jonathan Crane and Rafael Del Toro, Lily Beacon as Jillian O'Connor, Nathan Bennett as Dwayne Trask, Ken Jackson as Lucius Fox, Mort Shoby as Bud and Lou, Tim Getman as Officer Luke Harvey, Andy Clements as Chief Coover, Scott McCormick as Commissioner Piscura, Amanda Thickpenny as Phoebe Lemieux, Laura Reichert as Wally Gilroy, with Eric Messner, Nanette Savard, Michael John Casey, Dylan Lynch, Joe Brack, Michael Raplogel, Sonny Lasky, Jonathan Watkins, M.B. Van Dorn, Chris Rowan, Nathaniel Perry, and Jeff Baker. Directed and adapted for graphic audio by Richard Rowan. Produced by Rick Rowan and Dwayne Beeman. Executive producers James Cutting, Mary Cutting, and Angie Cornett. Dialogue editing and graphic audio sound design by Brian Patton and Chris Rowan. The Batman theme was composed by Dan Smith. Additional original music by Dan Smith, Chris Rowan, and Brian Patton. If you enjoyed Batman Inferno, be sure to look for our other graphic audio DC Comics titles, including Batman Dead White, available at road stops everywhere at 1-800-670-5220 or at www.graphicaudio.net.